When I first picked up the Henry Homesteader, I thought it was just a pretty face with a walnut stock. But after running a few boxes of 9mm through it, I realized this thing's got the heart of a workhorse and the brains of a modern PCC. Now let me break this down for you. What's up, everyone? This is Sully from Line 45, and today we're taking a close look at the Henry Homesteader to see if this traditional-looking carbine can hold its own in a sea of tactical 9mm. Before I start, I would really appreciate it if you would push those buttons below. The subscribe button, the notification bell, all of them. This is not necessary, but those little clicks help a brother out. Plus, it pushes me to give you more valuable car-related content on your screen. Now buckle up and let's get back to the video. Alright, so this is the Henry Homesteader. At a glance, yeah, it looks like a classic wood-stocked hunting rifle, but it's actually a 9mm semi-auto carbine, built like a traditional field gun. But underneath all that walnut is a blowback action PCC, with features you wouldn't expect just by looking at it. The stock is genuine American walnut, not laminate or polymer, and is dressed up to look nice. It's got a sealed finish, so it'll hold up to the weather and brush without soaking up moisture or swelling. The texture along the forend and grip isn't deep checkering, but it's enough to lock in your support hand when you're moving or transitioning targets. The forend is stout and doesn't flex or creak under pressure like some of the synthetic stocks out there. Weight-wise, you're looking at 6.6 pounds unloaded with a 16.37-inch threaded barrel that keeps it just under 36 inches overall. It feels light but planted. The balance is right between your hands, so it doesn't dip forward or feel like it's dragging in the back. The muzzle is threaded in the standard 1/2x28 pattern, so you can throw on a can, a linear comp, or whatever you want. Or just run it clean with the thread protector it ships with. Controls are where this thing really starts to show some brains. Safety mag release bolt lock. Everything is ambidextrous or easily swappable. Charging handle can be moved to either side. Even the bolt lock has twin tabs ahead of the trigger guard, so you're not reaching around or doing some weird two-hand dance. If you've never handled one, it might surprise you how naturally it comes up and how intuitive everything feels. Henry didn't build this for the show. They built it to shoot quietly, reliably, and comfortably. To be fair, you can tell a lot about a rifle once you start taking it apart and really living with it. The Henry Homesteader looks clean and simple on the outside, but once I dug into the guts, I realized how smartly this thing is built. As I've said, it doesn't just fire 9mm and it looks pretty doing it. Mechanically, it's got some serious brains behind the old-school style. Let me give you a run-through of its action. It runs on a blowback system, but this isn't your basic budget tier setup. The bolt itself is light, but Henry added a reciprocating weight inside the forend that moves forward as the bolt travels back. The two are connected by action bars, kind of like what you'd see on a pump shotgun. This actually gives the rifle an incredibly flat recoil impulse. You're not fighting muzzle rise even during fast follow-ups. It's one of the few blowback carbines I've shot that feels like it was designed to stay on target rather than just cycle. I already mentioned that its barrel is 16.37 inches blued steel and threaded 1/2x28. You're looking at specs I consider to be the industry standard. That opens you up to muzzle brakes or suppressors right out of the box. I ran it both suppressed and unsuppressed. It handled a can beautifully, and I only noticed gas blowback when I pushed into heavy subsonic loads with open bolt time. The twist rate is 1 in 10, which did well with 115 and 124 grain ammo. Out of the longer barrel, I was seeing velocity gains of 150 to 200 feet per second over pistol-length barrels, which makes a difference in both energy and expansion if you're using hollow points. Moving forward, the receiver is made of aluminum hard anodized and looks like blued steel at a glance. It's drilled and tapped for a Weaver 63B rail, and Henry offers a Skinner pick rail with a built-in peep sight that lines up perfectly. The top is flat, and most red dots or compact scopes mount low enough to stay in line with your cheek weld. Despite the drop in the stock, I didn't feel the need for a riser with a low-mount optic. What really impressed me is how every major control is either ambidextrous or swappable. The charging handle pulls off with a firm tug and drops into the opposite side. It locks in cleanly and doesn't wiggle under recoil. The top-mounted thumb safety is easy to flick with gloves, and the mag release depends on which mag well you're using. Henry's uses a protected paddle release. Glock and SIG setups come with a side button, just like the handguns. It's intuitive either way. Field stripping is almost too easy. Punch 3 pins and the stock and trigger groups slide right out. The mag well lifts straight out. No wrenches, no springs flying across the room. It's rugged, clean, and meant to be maintained in the field. Now that the mechanics are covered, let's hit the range. I'll walk you through how it actually shoots, what loads it prefers, and what kind of accuracy you can expect downrange. Putting rounds through the Henry Homesteader gave me a clearer picture of what this rifle was really built for. It may look like a gentleman's ranch gun, but behind that walnut stock is a platform that runs clean handles, tight, and actually rewards fast-controlled shooting. I wasn't just plinking with it. I was pushing different types of ammo through it, testing suppressed and unsuppressed, and looking for where it shines and where it stumbles. Recoil is about as soft as you'll get from a centerfire carbine. Henry's internal reciprocating weight setup inside the forend does real work. You've got a light bolt paired with a counterweight that moves forward on a set of action bars every time the bolt comes back. It's subtle, but once you start running quick follow-ups, it becomes obvious. The muzzle doesn't rise. It just tracks flat. I was comfortably dumping strings at 2 to 4 rounds per second and still staying on steel at 25 yards without adjusting between shots. I ran everything from 65 grain frangible to 147 grain subsonics. Standard 115 grain FMJ grouped tight and cycled flawlessly. Same goes for 124 grain hollow points. No hang-ups, no nosedives. Subsonic 147s, on the other hand, were a mixed bag. Hollow points in that weight class had occasional failures to fully cycle when fired unsuppressed, especially with aftermarket extended magazines. That issue disappeared once I ran them with a suppressor. The added back pressure made all the difference, which tells me the rifle is tuned more around standard loads, but can handle subs when the system is balanced. With the suppressor, this carbine really came into its own. Even with no gas system to adjust, there was hardly any blowback unless I used heavy subloads. It cycled clean, stayed quiet, and the recoil dropped to almost rimfire levels with lighter rounds. The threaded barrel really helped me run standard cans. Fit without modification. Accuracy was more than acceptable. I mounted a red dot and started testing groups at 50 yards. With 115 grain balls and even some budget hollow points, I was holding right around 2 inches. A few loads tightened up to 1.5. The micro-groove rifling and longer barrel do a good job stabilizing standard weights. I noticed 147 grain groups tended to open up, sometimes stretching to 4 or even 6 inches, depending on the ammo. Still, everything is grouped consistently within its category. The trigger surprised me in the best way. It measured just about 5 pounds, but it felt lighter. It's got a crisp break, and the reset is short and easy to find. Henry integrated the sear into the trigger bar, which locks out both under the safety. It felt positive and repeatable, something I'd trust for both range work and closer range varmint shots. Overall, the Homesteader's shooting behavior feels refined. It's soft, smooth, and reliable, with enough accuracy and speed to make it more than just a pretty face. Of course, the more time I spent with the Homesteader, the more I realized it wasn't trying to be like every other 9mm carbine on the shelf. Most PCCs today lean into tactical looks and modularity. That's not what this rifle is about. It's not dressed in aluminum or polymer or covered in M-lock slots. It's built with purpose and personality, and that's what makes it different. For certain shooters, it might even be a better fit. This is a rifle that doesn't scare off new shooters or feel out of place in rural settings. You've got American walnut, a blued steel barrel, and an aluminum receiver that blends in with the wood, like it was designed in the same era. It looks more like a classic camp rifle than something out of a SWAT catalog. I've taken it to the range and had people ask if it was a 30-30. When I told them it takes Glock mags and runs 9mm every single one of them, did a double take. But under that traditional shell is a very smart design. You can swap mag wells to run Glock SIG or Henry's own proprietary magazines. No tools needed. I switched from Henry's 10-round mag to a Glock 33-rounder in less than a minute. The mag releases change depending on the mag well too, so everything feels familiar, whether you're coming from a pistol or not. You've also got ambidextrous controls that don't feel like afterthoughts. The bolt lock is accessible from either side. The charging handle pops off and reinstalls on either end with a solid lockup. And the trigger, which shares its design with the safety mechanism, gives you a clean break with no surprises. Nothing feels clunky. Nothing gets in the way. This isn't a rifle for guys chasing the latest optic mount or folding stock. It's for people who want something dependable, familiar, and capable without drawing the wrong kind of attention. And yes, even if you hate me by saying this, the Homesteader is the real deal. It's not here to compete with AR pattern PCCs or tactical builds. This carbine was built for the shooter who wants simplicity, reliability, and a touch of heritage in a platform that still keeps up with modern expectations. Performance-wise, it checks all the critical boxes. Accuracy with standard 115 and 124 grain loads stayed consistently within 2 to 2.5 inches at 50 yards, even with iron sights. The rifle's balance and sight radius help a lot with that. Feeding was smooth across most ammo types, with the only hiccups showing up when I pushed 147 grain hollow points through longer aftermarket magazines without a suppressor. Once I added back pressure from a can, those issues went away. Mechanically, it's built smart. The counterweight system makes the blowback action feel softer than most. The bolt doesn't slap, the muzzle stays flat, and it's easy to keep shots on target in quick strings. Add the modular magwell system, and you've got real-world compatibility with Glock and SIG mags. That's a big deal for anyone who wants to run a common sidearm and carbine on the same ammo and mags. The aesthetics won't be for everyone, but that's exactly what makes this rifle unique. It blends into rural environments, fits the profile of a traditional field gun, and won't raise eyebrows in places where black rifles usually do. It looks like something your grandfather might have carried, but it runs like something you can depend on today. For the buyer who wants a pistol-caliber carbine that doesn't chase trends, doesn't need constant tweaking, and isn't covered in rails and slots, the Homesteader hits the mark. It's dependable, accurate, and designed with more care than most people give it credit for. It's not the loudest rifle on the shelf, but for some of us, that's exactly the point. Exactly the point. Exactly.